The palace of Valoria stood tall under the twin moons. Its silver towers touched the clouds, and its long marble halls echoed with silence. Inside these walls lived Princess Erin, a woman known across the stars not for freedom, but for her duty. From the moment she opened her eyes each morning, her life was decided for her. She had to bow, obey, and repeat the same rituals taught to her since childhood. Every step she took was watched by servants and advisors. Her smile was never her own. Her voice was carefully measured. She was not allowed to laugh too loudly nor cry when her heart ached, for Valoria's laws said a princess belonged to her people. She was a symbol, not a person, bound by tradition. She never questioned it, not until that night. The night the human came, his name was Commander Elias, a representative from Earth. He was not tall compared to the alien warriors, nor covered in armor like her guards. Instead, he wore a simple black uniform with a crest of a blue planet stitched at the heart. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel. They were filled with something strange, something she had never seen in anyone before. Defiance. When Erin first saw him enter the throne hall, her heart skipped, not because he was strong, not because he was handsome, but because he carried himself differently. He did not bow too low, nor did he tremble before her father. The High Regent, instead, he stood straight, his chin high. As if he too carried a crown, the court whispered at once. Some called it disrespect, some called it bravery. But Erin felt something else for the first time in her life. She felt her chest stir with curiosity. Who was this man who dared to look her father in the eye? Who was this stranger who walked as if chains had never been forged for him? Her life until now had been duty. She ate when told, sat when ordered, and smiled when commanded. She was taught to marry for alliance, not love, to obey for honor, not happiness, to serve for the good of Valoria. Not for herself, passion was a forbidden word. Desire was a shadow never spoken of in her presence. But when her eyes met his across the throne hall, something inside her shifted. It was small, like a spark in the dark. Yet even the smallest spark can burn through iron chains. That evening, after the court was dismissed, Erin walked the long balcony of the moonlit garden. The air smelled of violet blossoms. The stars above were endless. She often came here to think, to breathe, away from the heavy weight of crowns and tradition. Tonight, however, her steps slowed. She was not alone. Commander Elias was standing there, gazing at the alien sky as if it belonged to him. His hands were behind his back, his shoulders relaxed. He looked more like a dreamer than a soldier. "You should not be here," she whispered, her voice sharp, though her heart raced. "This is the private walk of the royal family." He turned to her, his lips curling in the smallest smile. "And yet here I am," her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. No fear, no careful titles, no rehearsed words, only honesty. "You mock our laws," she said, though her voice trembled. "No," he replied softly. "I only question them." His eyes studied her face. "Do you not?" Her throat tightened. The answer leapt inside her chest, but she swallowed it. She could not betray her people. She could not betray her crown. Still, his words stayed in her mind like a seed buried in the soil. That night she could not sleep. The palace was silent. The guards patrolled with heavy steps. Yet all she could hear were his words, "Do you not?" She remembered her life, the endless duties, the chains of tradition, the silent tears hidden in her chambers. She remembered how her heart had never chosen anything for itself. And she remembered his eyes, full of something wild, something free, something that made her wonder if she had been living or merely surviving. By dawn, her reflection in the mirror felt different. Her golden crown looked heavier. Her silk robes felt like a prison. She touched the necklace of duty around her neck, passed down from queen to queen, and for the first time she hated it. The chains of duty had bound her all her life. But now, for the first time, Princess Erin began to see them. And when someone finally sees their chains, escape is only a matter of time. The next evening, the palace was filled with music and light. Servants carried trays of crystal cups, and the nobles wore gowns shining like stars. Princess Erin sat at her father's side, her face calm as always, but her heart restless. She could feel the human somewhere in the hall. Even without looking, Commander Elias stood among the envoys, his uniform plain, but his presence impossible to ignore. He did not laugh too loudly like the alien lords, nor bow constantly like the lesser houses. He simply watched, calm and steady, as if he measured every word spoken around him. Erin wanted to keep her eyes away, but they betrayed her. Again and again they found him after the feast ended. Aaron slipped away to the moonlit gardens. The violet blossoms glowed faintly in the dark, and the air was cool against her skin. She walked quickly, her long robe brushing against the stone. She told herself she came here to escape the noise, but in her heart she knew the truth. She was waiting for him, and he came. Elias appeared from the shadows, his boots soft against the path. He stopped when he saw her, as if unsure whether to speak. She should have called for guards. She should have ordered him away instead, she whispered. "You should not follow me." "I did not," he said, his voice calm. "I came to see the stars, but perhaps fate wished me to find you." Her chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Fate, not duty, not order, not command. Fate. For a long moment they stood in silence, the wind moving through the tall leaves. Finally, Aaron asked the question that had burned inside her since yesterday. "Why do you look at us as if we are wrong? Why do you never bow?" Elias took a slow breath. His eyes were clear, his words steady. "Because chains are not sacred just because they are old. Because bowing without belief is the same as lying." Her lips parted. Her people would call such words dangerous, rebellious, even criminal. Yet his voice was calm, not angry, not sharp. It was like someone speaking a truth too heavy to hide. "You are bold," she whispered, "too bold. Do you not fear what my father might do?" "I fear many things," Elias answered, his eyes never leaving hers, "but not the truth." "And not you," her heart raced. She wanted to step closer, but she froze, caught between longing and fear. No one had ever looked at her as if she were more than a title, more than a symbol, more than the crown she carried. But in his eyes she was simply Aaron. For the first time in her life she allowed herself to ask, "And what do you see when you look at me?" Elias did not rush to answer. His silence stretched like the tension in the night. Finally he said, "I see a woman who was told all her life what she must be, and yet she dreams of what she could be." Her breath caught. It was as if he had opened her heart with words. Her eyes burned, and she quickly turned away. If anyone heard this, if anyone saw them now, the punishment would be severe. But hidden in the shadows was not safety. Spies moved quietly. Their glowing eyes watched from the walls. Their ears caught every word, and soon, whispers of a forbidden meeting would spread across the court. Aaron sensed it. She felt the danger pressing against her. She pulled back, her voice sharp once more. "This conversation is forbidden if the council hears of it." "You will be punished, and you?" Elias asked gently. Her throat tightened. "I will lose everything." He stepped closer, his voice low. "Then tell me, princess, is everything worth losing? If it was never truly yours?" Her heart thundered. Her hands trembled at her sides. The words tore at her soul. She wanted to scream, to run, to fall into his arms, but instead she turned, walking quickly back toward the palace lights. Behind her, Elias did not call her name. He did not chase her. He only let her go, as if he knew she would return. That night, Aaron could not close her eyes. Every word replayed in her mind. His voice had been calm, yet it struck like lightning. Her duty was clear. Her people expected her loyalty. But for the first time, loyalty felt like a prison. By dawn, the palace was already buzzing. Shadows moved through the halls. Whispers spread like smoke. The princess spoke with the human. The princess broke the law of silence. She stood before her mirror once again, but this time her reflection looked strange. Her face was the same, her crown the same, yet behind her eyes burned something new, a secret fire, and with that fire came danger. For in Valoria, forbidden conversations were not forgotten. They were punished. Morning light poured through the palace windows, soft and golden, but to Princess Aaron it felt heavy like iron. The whispers from the night before had already spread. Servants bowed too quickly, advisors spoke in half-sentences, and the guards avoided her eyes. Everyone knew something had happened, everyone waited for judgment. The council was called before noon. The chamber was wide, with black stone pillars and banners of Valoria hanging like shadows. At the center sat her father, the High Regent. His face was carved in stone, emotionless, but his eyes were sharp as blades. Around him the council of elders gathered, their robes long and their voices cold. Aaron walked into the chamber with her head high, but her heart beating fast. She knew why she was summoned. They would ask about the human. They would test her loyalty. "Daughter," the High Regent began, his voice echoing, "it has reached us that you spoke with the Offworlder. Tell us, is it true?" The room fell silent. Erin's hands tightened at her side. Her first instinct was to deny it, but lies would not save her. Not here, not in this hall. Yes, she said softly. Her voice was steady, though her chest trembled. I spoke with him, the elders hissed in disapproval. One of them, a tall man with silver markings on his face, leaned forward. Do you not know the danger of such contact? Humans are reckless, they question order, they spread chaos. They must not influence our princess, Erin bowed her head. But inside, anger flickered. She remembered Elias's words. Chains are not sacred just because they are old. The council spoke of order, but all she saw were walls built to keep her caged. Her father's voice cut through the noise. You are a princess, Erin. You are not free to speak as others do. Your tongue belongs to Valoria. Your heart belongs to duty. The words hit her like a blade. She had heard them all her life, but now they felt heavier. Colder for the first time, she wanted to shout, what if my heart belongs to me? But she stayed silent, she had no choice. When the council ended, she returned to her chambers. Her reflection in the mirror showed the same crown, the same silk robes, yet her eyes burned with questions. Her thoughts ran wild. What was duty worth if it cost her soul? What was tradition if it killed every dream inside her? She reached into her robes and touched the hidden gift Elias had given her. A small book of human poetry. The pages were thin, the words strange yet beautiful. They spoke of love, of longing, of fire in the blood and freedom in the soul. Words her people never dared to write. As she read, her chest ached. Her people's teaching said desire was weakness. But these poems made her feel strong, alive. They gave her something her crown never did, hope. But hope was dangerous. Already spies had seen her with Elias. Already rumors spread like poison. If she was caught with the book, it could mean her disgrace. Or worse, his death, her maid. A young alien girl named Lyra entered the room quietly. She bowed low, her voice trembling. Princess, forgive me, but the whispers are growing. They say the council will test you again. They want proof of your loyalty. Erin's breath caught. What kind of proof? Lyra hesitated, her eyes down. They want you to betray the human. They want you to give them his words, his secrets. The room spun. Her heart pounded like thunder. They wanted her to choose, to be a daughter of duty or a woman of desire. That evening, the palace halls felt darker than ever. The torches burned low. The guards watched her every step. Every shadow whispered of chains tightening around her. Erin stood by the balcony, looking at the stars. Her hands clenched against the stone. Duty told her to obey, to hand Elias to the council. Desire told her to protect him, to keep the fire alive. The weight of tradition pressed against her chest until she could hardly breathe. She was a princess, raised to be loyal. But she was also a woman who had felt her heart beat freely for the first time. Behind her, the door creaked open. It was her father. The High Regent stepped inside, his cloak sweeping the floor. He looked at her for a long time before speaking. You will obey, he said, his voice cold and final. You will give us what we ask. You will remember who you are, and if you fail, you will no longer be my daughter. The words cut deep. She wanted to cry, to beg, but she only bowed her head. Her crown felt like chains pressing down on her skull. When he left, she pressed the poetry book to her chest. Her hands shook. Her heart burned. The weight of tradition was crushing her. But inside that weight, something was fighting to rise. Something stronger than duty. Something older than laws. Something she could not yet name but could feel, like fire beneath the ice. The weight of tradition was breaking her, but it was also shaping her choice. And choices once made could change empires. The palace grew colder as the days passed. Every step Princess Erin took felt heavier. Every glance from a servant or guard reminded her of the whispers. Her father's warning still echoed inside her. Obey, or you will no longer be my daughter. She told herself to forget the human, to let the spark fade, yet the fire refused to die. It burned brighter each night. And then one evening it became something more. It was after the council's feast. The nobles laughed and drank under golden lights. But Erin excused herself. She walked quickly toward the gardens. Her heart restless, the air was cool, the moonlight soft. And waiting under the old stone archway was Commander Elias. He should not have been there, the risk was too great. Yet when their eyes met, she felt relief. She was no longer alone in the prison of duty. I should send you away, she whispered. If they find us, they will punish me, Elias said calmly. His lips curled faintly. "But tell me, Princess, would they punish you for listening to truth?" Her throat tightened. She wanted to say no, but she knew the council would not hesitate. Still she stayed, drawn to him like a bird to the flame. Elias reached into his coat and pulled out something small. His hand opened and in his palm rested a thin book. "Bound in dark leather, what is this?" she asked, frowning. "A gift," he said softly. "From my people." From Earth she froze. A gift between them was forbidden. Gifts were promises, gifts were trust. "You cannot," she whispered sharply. "If anyone sees, then hide it," Elias replied, pressing the book gently into her hands. "But read it. Every page carries the fire of my people. Words that break chains. Words that remind us we are more than crowns and titles." Her hands shook as she held it. The leather was warm from his touch. She opened it slightly and saw strange symbols, curved letters flowing like rivers across the page. At first they meant nothing, but then her translator band hummed, and the words came alive in her mind. "Love is the fire that refuses chains. Hope is the voice that will not kneel, and freedom is the heart's true crown." The lines hit her like thunder. Her chest ached. Her breath caught. She had read many books from her own people, but none like this, never words of love, never words of passion, never words that dared to say chains were wrong. Tears pricked her eyes. She quickly shut the book and clutched it close. "If they find this, they will call it treason." "Then let them," Elias said quietly. His gaze was steady. "What they call treason, I call truth." For a moment neither spoke. The garden was silent except for the rustle of leaves. The danger of their closeness hung in the air. If a guard turned the corner, if a spy watched from the walls, it would end here. Erin's voice trembled as she asked, "Why are you risking this? Why give me something that could kill us both?" "Because," Elias said, stepping closer, "I see the chains around you and I believe you are meant to break them." Her heart thundered. His words cut deeper than any blade. She had always carried duty like armor, but in his presence, it felt like glass cracking from the inside. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed in the distance. Heavy boots against stone, a patrol was near. Her blood turned cold. She shoved the book into her robe and turned away. "Go," she hissed. "Now, before they find you." But Elias did not move, his eyes locked on hers, calm even in danger. "Do not forget, Princess. What you carry is not just a book. It is a key." And then he slipped into the shadows. Gone before the guards arrived, Erin stood frozen, her heart pounding. The soldiers passed by, their eyes sharp. But they did not search her robes. They bowed quickly and moved on. Leaving her trembling in the night, when she returned to her chamber, she locked the door and pulled out the book. Her fingers traced the strange letters. She opened it again, reading line after line. Each word lit a flame inside her. The book spoke of passion, of longing, of choices made by the heart instead of duty. It told of lovers who defied kings, of voices that rose against silence, of people who dared to be free. For hours she read, her tears falling onto the pages. For the first time she felt alive, truly alive, not a symbol, not a tool of the council, but a woman. Yet fear crept into her chest. She was playing with fire. Already spies whispered about her meetings. Already the council doubted her. If they found the gift, they would take everything from her, her crown, her name, even her life. But when she looked at the book, she could not let it go. It was dangerous. But it was also beautiful, and beauty, she realized, was worth the risk. That night, as the moons rose higher, Princess Erin lay awake with the book beside her heart. The palace walls felt tighter, the chains heavier, but inside her the fire grew. The dangerous gift had changed everything, and once a fire begins, it does not wait for permission to burn. The council did not wait long. By the next day, whispers turned into orders. Princess Erin was summoned once again to the black stone chamber. The torches burned low, the banners hung heavy, and every elder's eyes pierced into her as though they could see her heart. Her father, the High Regent, sat like a mountain at the center. His voice carried no warmth, only command. "Daughter, your loyalty has been questioned. Some believe the human has clouded your judgment. We will not allow doubt to poison our court. You will prove your loyalty today." Her breath caught. "How?" she asked, though her voice trembled. An elder leaned forward, his silver-marked face cruel in the firelight. "The human carries knowledge. Secrets of Earth's fleets. We will test you, Princess. You will draw these secrets from him. You will bring them here, and you will show us where your heart lies, duty Or betrayal? Erin's blood ran cold. They were not asking, they were demanding. Her throat tightened as she bowed her head. Yes, my lords, but inside, her chest burned with panic. If she obeyed, she would betray Elias. If she refused, she would betray her people. Either path ended in ruin. That night, her chambers felt like a cage. The book lay hidden beneath her pillow, its words whispering against her thoughts. Love is the fire that refuses chains. Hope is the voice that will not kneel. The verses filled her with strength. Yet the weight of duty pressed harder than ever. Lyra, her maid, entered quietly, her hands trembling. Princess, she whispered. I heard the council. They want you to betray him if you fail. They will strip you of your crown, and him. They will execute. Erin's knees weakened. She gripped the edge of her table. Why must I choose between honor and my heart? She whispered. Lyra looked at her with wide, fearful eyes. Because the council fears the human, they fear what he awakens in you. Those words stung deeper than blades. Fear. Yes, the council feared not Elias himself, but the change he brought, the fire he lit in her soul. Erin dismissed Lyra and sat by her balcony, staring at the twin moons. Her decision weighed heavier than her crown. By midnight, she gathered her courage. She walked through the silent halls, her robe brushing against stone, and made her way to the guest wing. The guards stood tall, but she ordered them away with the authority of her title. They obeyed, though their suspicious eyes lingered. She reached Elias's chamber. Her hand trembled as she pushed open the door. Inside, the human sat at a small desk, his hands writing in a journal. He looked up when she entered. His face softened, but he did not rise. You should not be here, he said, though his voice was calm. Not tonight. Her throat tightened. She stepped forward, her voice low. They want me to betray you. Elias closed the journal slowly. His eyes never left hers. I know, shock flickered across her face. You know? He gave a small nod. I've seen the spies, heard the whispers. I knew they would test you. The question is, what will you do? Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted to scream, to collapse, to throw the cursed crown from her head. If I betray you, I lose my heart. If I protect you, I lose my people. Tell me, Elias, what choice do I have? He stood now, his shadow long in the dim light. His voice was steady. You have the only choice that matters. Erin, to be who you are, not who they command you to be. Her chest heaved. His words struck like thunder. She wanted to deny them, to cling to duty, but her heart had already chosen. The fire from the book burned too bright to smother. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the corridor. Guards, heavy and fast. Erin's blood froze. Elias moved closer, his voice urgent but calm. They are coming. They will force you to act. Decide now, princess, chains or fire? Her tears spilled. She reached into her robe and pulled out the book, pressing it against his chest. I cannot betray you, Elias, not when you gave me this. Not when you gave me myself. Their eyes locked, and for a heartbeat the world fell silent. The footsteps grew louder, the danger closer. But in that moment Erin chose. She grabbed his hand, whispering, Follow me. Together they moved to the back of the chamber. A hidden door carved in stone stood half forgotten. She pushed it open, revealing the ancient tunnels beneath the palace, passages built long ago in times of war. The guards stormed into the chamber just as the stone door closed behind them. Shouts and steel filled the air. But Erin and Elias were gone, swallowed by the darkness of the tunnels. Her breath came fast, her heart racing. Fear clung to her bones, but fire burned in her soul. She had failed the council's test of loyalty, but for the first time in her life, she felt free. The path ahead was dangerous, uncertain, but she knew one thing. She would no longer live bound by duty. She had chosen her heart, and hearts once awakened never returned to silence. The tunnels beneath the palace were cold and dark. The air smelled of stone and dust. Erin's robe caught on jagged walls as she hurried forward. Elias kept close behind her, his footsteps silent but steady. Torches long dead left only shadows, but their way was lit by the faint glow of crystal veins in the rock. Her heart pounded. She could still hear the shouts above. Guards searching every hall. The council would know she had chosen. They would call her traitor. They would call her lost, but for the first time, the weight on her chest felt lighter. She had chosen fire, not chains. Elias's voice was low but firm. Do you know where this leads? Erin nodded quickly. These tunnels were built in the old wars. They lead outside the city walls. Few remember them now. He gave a small smile despite the danger. You remembered. Her chest tightened. She had never been praised for remembering anything before. only punished for questioning, yet in his words there was respect. And respect felt like freedom. They turned a corner, and the sound of boots echoed close behind. Aaron gasped, "They are already in the tunnels." Elias grabbed her hand, his grip strong. "Then we move faster." They ran, their robes and boots kicking up dust. The tunnel sloped downward, leading to an ancient chamber. Statues of forgotten kings stood against the walls, their stone faces broken in the silence. Their eyes seemed to watch. Suddenly a torch flared. Guards burst from a side passage, armored and armed. Their voices rang through the chamber. "Stop! In the name of the regent!" Erin froze, fear gripping her. Her whole life she had been taught to obey that voice, to kneel before those words, but Elias stepped forward. His body shielding her, his voice rang out. Not trembling, but fierce. "If you want her, you'll go through me." The guards hesitated. Their eyes narrowed. They had faced warriors before. But this human stood with fire in his stance. He was not of their world. Yet his defiance shook them. Erin's chest burned. She could not let him face this alone. Her eyes darted to the statues, and she saw it, an old ceremonial spear. Cracked but still sharp, she grabbed it. Her hands trembling but strong. The guards advanced. Elias moved like a soldier trained for war. His fists struck with precision. His body swift and firm, Erin thrust the spear, blocking one soldier's path. For the first time in her life, she fought not for duty, not for command, but for herself. The clash was short but fierce. A guard fell, another stumbled. The others retreated, shouting for reinforcements. Elias grabbed Erin's arm, pulling her toward the far passage. "We must keep moving." Her chest heaved. Her hand shook, but inside she felt something wild, something alive. She had never held a weapon, never raised her hand against anyone. Yet in that moment she had chosen fire, not chains. The tunnels narrowed as they pushed forward. The air grew colder, the walls damp at last. They saw it, a faint light ahead. The exit, freedom, but before they could reach it, another voice echoed through the stone, a cold, sharp voice that froze Erin's blood. "Daughter!" She stopped, her breath gone. From the shadows emerged her father, the High Regent. His cloak dragged against the floor. His eyes blazed with fury. Behind him stood more guards, their weapons ready. "You shame our blood," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You betray your people for a foreigner. You are no longer my daughter." Erin's knees weakened. His words cut deeper than blades. For years she had obeyed him, carried his will, worn his crown. Now he cast her aside like dust. Elias stepped between them, his voice sharp. "She is not your prisoner anymore." The regent's face darkened. "And you, human, you will die tonight." He raised his hand, and the guards surged forward. The battle was chaos. Elias fought fiercely, his movements quick and precise. Erin used the spear again, her fear now burning into strength. The clash of steel rang against stone. Sparks flew, shouts echoed. But the regent did not fight with weapons. His words were his blade. "Erin, return now, and I will forgive you. Throw away this madness, obey me, and your crown is safe." Her chest heaved. Tears blurred her vision. For a heartbeat she wavered, crown or fire, chains or freedom. Then she raised her spear high, her voice shaking but strong. "No more." Her cry rang through the chamber, louder than the clash of steel for the first time. She spoke not as a princess bound by duty, but as a woman free to choose. The regent's eyes widened, shock flashing in his stone-hard face in that moment. Erin turned and ran with Elias toward the light. The tunnel opened into the night. Cold air rushed over her face, stars filled the sky. The city walls rose behind them, but ahead was freedom. Elias pulled her close as they stumbled into the open, his voice low, fierce. "You chose, Erin, and no one can take that from you now." Her tears fell freely, not of sorrow but of release. The choice of fire had cost her everything, her crown, her father, her home. But in her heart she had gained something greater. The chains of duty were broken, and once broken, they could never be forged again. The night air bit cold against her skin, but Princess Erin, no just Erin now, felt lighter than ever. She and Elias stumbled down the rocky hills beyond the palace walls. Behind them the city towers glowed under the twin moons. Guards' horns echoed faintly, carrying the call of pursuit. But ahead stretched open land, dark and endless, full of stars. Her breath came fast. Her robe was torn, her hair tangled. Yet she did not care. For the first time in her life, her steps were her own. Elias kept pace beside her, steady even in exhaustion. His hand remained at her back, guiding her when the path grew steep. His voice was calm, though his eyes searched the shadows. "They will follow us, we cannot stop yet." Erin nodded, though her legs ached. "I know," she whispered, "but for once, I am not afraid." They reached a ridge and paused. The land spread out below, a sea of forests, rivers glowing with crystal veins, and mountains far away like silent guards of the horizon. The world looked vast, untamed, alive. For the first time, she saw her home not as a cage of marble and duty, but as something wild and free. She turned to Elias, her chest trembling. "I have nothing now, no crown, no title, not even a name to call mine." He looked at her steadily, his voice strong. "You have yourself, and that is more than 1,000 crowns." Her eyes burned with tears. She had lived her whole life carrying chains she thought were sacred. Yet this human, this stranger, had given her back the one thing she never knew she lost. Her heart. They moved on, crossing into the forest. The night was alive with sounds of creatures stirring. Glowing insects floated through the air like falling stars. Erin walked in silence. The poetry book pressed close against her chest. Every word inside it whispered louder now. Love is the fire that refuses chains. Hope is the voice that will not kneel. Freedom is the heart's true crown. At last they reached a small clearing, a stream flowing quietly through the grass. Elias stopped, his eyes scanning the trees. "We can rest here for a short while." Erin sank onto a rock by the water, her hands shaking, not from fear, but from release. She looked at her reflection in the stream. The crown was gone. Her father's voice was gone. Only her own face stared back at her, and for the first time, she recognized the woman in the water. Elias sat across from her. Silent for a while, he let her breathe, let her gather herself. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "Do you regret it?" Her heart tightened. She thought of the palace, the council, the throne she would never sit upon. She thought of her father's cold eyes, of his voice declaring her no longer his daughter. Pain stabbed through her chest, but then she thought of Elias's hand pulling her into freedom, of the words that had burned her chains away. She shook her head slowly. "No, I do not regret. For the first time I chose, even if the galaxy hates me for it, I chose." Elias smiled faintly, his eyes soft. "That is what makes you free?" The silence stretched, heavy with things unsaid. Erin's hands trembled as she reached for the book. She opened it to the first page again. Her lips moved softly as she read. The words sounded strange in her alien tongue, but they carried fire. When she looked up, Elias was watching her, not as a commander, not as a stranger from another world, but as a man who saw her, truly saw her. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Elias, I never knew passion, I never knew desire. I never even knew myself. Until you." His breath caught, he moved closer. Not with the command of a soldier, but with the gentleness of a man offering his hand. His fingers brushed hers, and for the first time she did not pull away. The world around them seemed to vanish, the horns of soldiers far behind, the chains of duty shattered, the endless laws of her people. All that remained was the fire between them. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of awakening, of a heart that had finally been set free. Elias whispered, "Then do not go back, Erin. Do not ever let them chain you again." Her voice shook, but her eyes burned with strength. "I will not." They sat by the stream until dawn touched the sky. The light painted the horizon gold, and for the first time, Erin felt the warmth not as duty but as promise. The galaxy would call her traitor. The council would hunt her. Her father would curse her name, but none of it mattered, for she was no longer bound by duty. She was bound only by her heart. Her true desire had awakened, and with it, a future she never dared to dream. And as the sun rose, Erin whispered to the wind, words her people would never accept. Words that felt like fire and freedom. "I am mine. And I choose him." The awakening had come, and it would burn forever.